Hello, my name is Margaret Gill, and today I'm here to speak with you about the unemployment rate and why it is accurate. Okay, first off, I believe that there is a big misconception surrounding unemployment and what it truly means. The definition of unemployment is somebody who has been out of work but has actively sought work within the last 4 weeks. Okay, now there is a big stigma around unemployment and people don't know the true definition. And I was one of those people before I dived into this chapter and started learning and growing and learning the depth of unemployment. A lot of people believe that it is actually the labor force participation rate, which will be the rate of all the adults in the US versus who's in the labor force. And the labor force actually is the employed people and the unemployed people together. I have a chart to represent them. These statistics were taken out of August. That was the most recent that we had. Okay. So here is our employed people. The employed people in the US is about 157.5 million people. That is a lot of people to be employed. And then we have our unemployment rate in the blue. It is actually 8.3 million people in the US are currently unemployed. And then we have our red. Our red is our people out of the labor force. And that makes up about 94 million people in the US. Okay? But our actual unemployment rate consists of unemployed people divided by the total labor force, which will be our employed and our unemployed added together. And then we have our labor force participation rate, what I believe to be the unemployment rate before I dove into this chapter and started to study. And that will be our total labor force, our employed people, our unemployed people, divided by our total adult population. Okay? One of these reasons why people are not very well educated on the real unemployment rate is the media and fake news. They have absolutely destroyed our perspective on unemployment rate. They use it to their advantage when somebody in the political world they like is doing well. They use it to somebody else's disadvantage when they're not doing very well either. It's always used for a political benefit, which I think is so sad because it is a great tool to measure the unemployment rate all around the world, not just in the US. One of these big topics that I wanted to hit out on was Europe unemployment rates. They're always bashed in the media, like, why are these people not going to work? And of course, before this chapter, I sat there and I was like, there is no way that their unemployment rate is this high. But I never studied the factors of why it will be this high. And it is actually because they do not have an at will doctrine that we have here in the US. That means you can fire somebody at will as soon as you want them gone. You don't have to fill out papers like they do in Europe and send it into the government. And that process is about, I'd say, a month long, depending on where you are. Now, this is just most of Europe. And if you're hard to fire, they're going to be reluctant to hire. That's just it's just one of the facts of life in Europe. And people struggle with this daily, and it's represented in their unemployment rates. And they also have very good benefits for those that are unemployed. The US has about a 30% benefit rate of what you were making before, and Europe has about a 60% benefit rate, causing people to stay unemployed longer and not search as hard for jobs, which is understandable if you're making 60% of what you were. And people are harder to get them to hire you. It's just, it's a very different system than we experience here. And that's one of the reasons why the unemployment rate is so high there. Okay. And another thing people really don't know about is what makes the unemployment rate so accurate is how it's collected. It is collected through the current population survey, and the Labor Bureau of Statistics actually conducts this survey, and they have been conducting it since 1940. Okay, it divides the United States into 3,137 areas, and 729 of these areas are surveyed, and out of those 729, in each area, 300 households are surveyed. Okay, now how this survey works is they're surveyed for 4 months. 4 months, and if they're employed, that's written down. If they're not employed, how long their unemployment spurts have last, and then they're reassessed a year later in the exact same 4 months, and that is a final data that is written down. And after that, it is permanently booked, and that's how we get our unemployment statistics, which I think is so cool. And it's a very random, it's not pinpointing any certain group, it's including everybody, which makes it the most accurate that it could be. Now, I'm not saying it is spot on, point on, because nothing is with statistics. It is just a statistic, but it is the most useful. And I would say, honestly, I can't think of a better way to do it than pinpoint random groups all across the country. It's it's very fair, and probably the most fair in the world. And other countries do this the same way. And other countries have a little bit of a different perspective to unemployment, but still yet it is about the only thing that you can use to measure this as accurate as possible. I would like to thank you for your time today. And I just want to leave you that the unemployment rate is a great indicator of who's working, who's not, and who's just completely not looking for work. Until next time.